All right, let's get into Jordan becoming the pederast and the eating of the babies. And that's going to take you to the Azrael and the dingo ate your babies that I've told you about in the past. But that's going to be connecting you to the AUS. And this AUS is an alphabet situation. And that Z year, the 2026, with the X marks the spot with the 24 on 9/11 this year. And these types of overlays on these clocks have been tracking and putting together. But we're actually at a pretty clear clock here for you to understand on some mirrors, because Kevin Warsh and Jerome Powell and such are in the news today, and that Rome and the Romance languages, the Latin X, these types of things, and the 10 days to the 2/18 after the Super Bowl, which is actually the 20,400th day, or the 55-year, 10th month, 5-day on Kevin Warsh being alive. And that 10-4, 10-5, 10-6, 10-7, 2023 connects you to the Israel war start, and those things have been tracking or whatever since then. But the 2023 is a 2-5 on a sequence, and this is where we get these little, the 55 and the 2-5 and 5-5 and 2-2, all those things will work in a flip-flop flashing with the mirrors and such. Okay, so Jordan is a dark white light going over a white man's sport, the white trash sport, some say. And this white trash, and Christopher Lloyd turns 88 on 10/22 this year, and he said in the movie, see some serious shit and whatever, and the serious shit is coming with this crapture and rapture and trapture and all those things that is overlapping in times and space that we've been putting together for you to understand, hopefully clearly. And I know some of you are understanding, so either way, the Air Jordan is tied to that Yeshua and that NASA, the NASCAR, that serpent tongue, the snakes hatching, the eggs, and all those things been talking about as the horse riders coming in, and those the sandwiches and the mayos and the tomatoes, and the mayo's already been served up with Melania. But on 10-5, we see Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise being talked about in this Jim Jordan. Some things connected on this as far as diagonally or vertically, dark speak wise or whatever, was the abuse of young men. This is all where that Jordan is doing those things. But and that Jim is part of that ring, and he said, well, this feels like a championship ring or whatever. I'm gonna cry. That's part of that cry session at the right hand as the consciousness is being gathered and tested and numbered and whatever else. The McCormick spies were also connected on this day. And that's going to be tied to your spice cabinet. Your spies have already been shown. And your MJ, your Michael Jordan, is tying to your Michael Jackson and your Moonwalkers. That's to your Artemis 2 mission, the figure 8, and whatever else. And that's Dark Side of the Moon. And then Spider-Man, that's Spider-Man, and the web, the net, and the Netanyahu, and those things overlapping. You may get like a dark web on one. That's where like web 2.0 versus web 3.0. And this has all been like a foundation to the next level, and we're building up on these things in different ways, shapes, and forms. So all right, now the NBA is really good at dribbling balls, and we are going to see these so-called sports figures or Hollywood actors or actresses or whatever, that they are married for show, and they are really rainbows behind the scenes and such. So and it tells you like the first openly trans blah blah blah. It says like the key word first openly or words. All right, there are other ones that are not open about it. So let's get into the eating up the babies, because our nation of America, this religion of America, all right, it says that it's okay to kill the babies as long as it's with abortion and or with a silent abortion called the birth control pill. But as these spiritual babies have been building up, right, now you're going to have to consume them spiritually. And this is where that motion picture given life, you're given over to that delusion and these things, and they tell you all this stuff beforehand before you actually know the truth. And when you find out that what they're eating the babies, if they're actually eating the babies, they're probably eating the placentas that they take from everybody, or they are cloning people this way, shape, or whatever, and somebody got the wild idea to, hey, let's eat one of these suckers, right? So then they just start eating these clones and whatever else. But basically, America is that nation where we are that freedom nation. And we are one nation under God. And we can worship God however we want. And God has been hijacked by so-called Jesus Christ. And Jesus told you in end times in Matthew 24, there will be many teaching he is the Christ. And he told you that Peter would be starting the church, and he called Peter Satan. So Peter and Paul got together and asked the old head of Jesus, and Paul changed the gospel. He was a Pharisee, so he saw Jesus first. And now you become the blind, being led by that blind. So they're probably just eating some placentas or whatever kind of thing going on as far as a reality check. The placenta and these things, they are taking them from the home into this cube, the hospital, with a serpent rising up the logo and such, that serpent seed, and that serpent seed's hatching within a star. I've been told the aliens are real, whatever, the dark side of the moon. We're going to show you this video or whatever. Probably going to show some aliens back there. Or some shit or whatever. Either way, folks, the church, Jesus, this communion that a lot of these places do is in symbolic form eating flesh and drinking blood. So this is like where the church, their founding father in a way, is all coming into fruits. And this is where Jesus told you he was Amen, who is Satan. Okay, so y'all need to understand these things. And then the Lord is Satan, who numbers the people. And God rested, and the Lord God came in, and the Lord is the one who creates the darkness and the good and the evil. Otherwise, God creates good and those things. So this is where you see stacks and overlays as far as Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 and good, and not knowing anything other than this. And there's this good over here and this good over here placed in the right side of the earth. And it's not really the good. And this is where you get the Antarctic Treaty and the 12 countries, and this is the beast rises from the sea and the earth that has 10 horns and 2 horns, and those 12, and these things connect to your 12 months and the clocks and all these things. Okay, so, and that was to teach something that was wrong. So this all goes into your Eden and whatever else as you've gone into this thing being birthed here, and then it went to a side spectrum over here, and now it's over here. And okay, so this is where you get all these layers of Heil Hill and Hell and Hey Will and the apostrophe. So they are collecting these placentas, and this would be part of that placemat and the eating and the stem cells and those types of things. And there's basically Genesis 6, sons of God taking the daughters of men on the Epstein Island or whatever islands or whatever, and these stars that were shown, Brittany, Justin, Christina Aguilera, Bieber, whatever, that come up from a young age and go to an older age. These are probably the Island Boys for sure. They tell you in their name. They put them out there. All right, and they're probably bred and cloned and whatever on these islands, and they're sons of God. They're the Hollywood royals, the elites, and all these things coming together on these islands and doing a breeding project for the sons of God and trying to get that blonde hair, blue eye, in a matter of speaking. And then the Island Boys and these hunter games, that they can go and collect people. They could actually have an island where the kids just like raise themselves, or kind of what we're shown as far as Peter Pan or whatever. Because these people, even if it wasn't that, they take these ideas and then they go off with it or whatever. All right. So this is where the star seeds, this motion picture is given life, and they've taught what somebody sees as bad, and well, I want to try that or whatever. So this is where you see the Church of Satan being birthed today in our world. And the Church of Satan, while it may go through this, that, and the other, because it's the motion picture given life, so people are taking this or whatever and they're extracting, but it's all a lie and a way to take your power away from you. And you're going to go to those battles, and so-called John the Baptist denomination in the wild time, those ones that under the fundamentals and this hate and shit like that or whatever, this is those ones where that would be spawning that far right and far extreme, and the mark in the right hand, not being able to buy and sell. And they say they're not a cult, but they look all like fucking low-class Amish or whatever, right? They're Amish without the fucking skills. They just like to roll around on their little man night and it's basically a gay club, and they groom by reverse psychology, and they basically plant all these seeds against sodomy or whatever to make all these boys sodomites. All right, it's very simple. So simple, there's few that's going to find it. It's just what they're doing today and telling you that this kids and whatever, blah, blah, blah. We saw this back before, however many years, 15, 10, whatever years, as it's slow development. They get you with this and that and the other, and then they work in this, that, and the other, and then soon enough, it's all there. And it's just where it's working back into what is right, because your right is actually wrong. So this is where you're fighting nature, and where we saw back in the day where kids used to have a family and worked and whatever else, but they weren't really kids. They were of the so-called breeding age, and they were 13, 14, whatever years old, and kind of things we were... Either way, folks, you either get it or you don't. But we are going into a new time frame in the birth of the Church of Satan, and this is where that two-edged sword, that Bible, either gives you freedom or bondage.